grateful. So you haven't traveled since when? Two years
Not
ago?
much.
What?
I went to Oklahoma last week. I have an exhibit there in Oklahoma City.
Oh,
And so we went there. Mary Dean went, my son went, and we were there for like 3 days. And we went also to Tulsa,
oh
Oklahoma,
yeah, Oklahoma.
uh, where they have the Woody Guthrie Center.
Uh-huh.
It's like an archive of all of his songs and music and drawings and things. And so that was a good 3 day trip. And I hadn't, before that, I hadn't been on an airplane for over a year and a half.
You like that?
And I don't mind that.
It's a relief in a way. You know?
It is. And I love loud Hollywood parties, and I don't miss them one bit.
That's the new life, Vita Nova.
And it was also good to have an open calendar where the entries in my calendar were empty. They
Yeah,
were all empty. I
yeah.
didn't have to do anything. My time was my own.
So you had space for drawing
Much
into the
space
calendar.
growing and doing nothing. It was heaven.
What kind of show is that in Oklahoma City? It's at the
Well,
museum, or?
yes, yes, it's at a place called the Oklahoma Contemporary. It's like a Kunsthaus,
Uh-huh.
and they it's brand new building, kind of flashy, really nice, and it's drawings, paintings, prints that I had made in my books, and movies, and just a sort of compendium of a lot of things that I've done over the years.
Hmm. That's where you grew up.
Okay.
Yeah,
One,
I
two,
did.
1, 2, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, it's Lisa Marie. I'm working for the Filaf Festival, and the public is here. So if you want to begin the discussion, you can go now. Thank you.
Okay, we can do that. We can do that. Thank you. Well, Ed, thank you for agreeing to this conversation. And maybe if we can go back to have a full screen so that I don't see the room, but Ed himself, maybe that would be better if you can do that. But
Oh, what can we do?
right, yeah, wait, yeah, it's okay. Now you've gone back. Well, Ed, how should we start? Well, the festival that brings us together today is a festival devoted to art books and films. Rather unusual combination and interesting one in your case, because if I try to find what would be the common element between one of the common elements between books, art books, and films, of course, what comes up to mind is words, especially if the movies we're thinking about are talking movies. So, of course, with you, in the beginning was the word, I would say, but everything began like that. We know that old saying. And well, art books and film, we will discuss briefly a few of your books and your two films, Premium and Miracle. But I would say that as far as words are concerned, it always struck me that in your work, in the drawings and the paintings, the words, especially when you painted them or drew them in isolation, one by one, whether they were adjectives, verbs, common names, they all appear to me as proper names, as if they were, substitute for persons in a way. Or maybe, and that brings me to cinema, as if they were characters or actors that were on a scene and doing their bit. And so if you agree to stick with that maybe far-fetched idea for a moment, first of all, would you agree to that? Would you agree with the idea of the proper name? And if so, what would you say the words are in your work? Are they characters or rather actors?
Oh, well, I look at them as though little independent subjects, and I'd be in real trouble if I tried to bring too many of them together. So
Yeah.
people who bring lots of them together are called writers, and they've got their own trajectory, and they have their own agendas and their own missions. And I have never really tried to do that except when I'm writing a letter to someone and I'm forced to put words together. And but I always liked having to isolate a particular word because of its shortness and its kind of impulsive existence. And I can concentrate on that one thing. It all comes from some basic kind of observation of the world.
Yeah. Would you say you see? Would you say you see them, the words, as images? Could we say that?
I do, and I guess I came to this whole subject of art by being exposed to libraries and being exposed to American cinema in the 1940s, probably. And I was given a job to go to. I worked for an industrial supply company when I was about 18, and they sent me to the library to find every telephone book in the state of Oklahoma. And that was quite a bit. I mean, that was quite a job. I had to go and find every phone book and write down on paper in longhand the name of every lumber company within the state of Oklahoma. And if you can imagine, that's some kind of, I don't know, you can look at it like think of Franz Kafka or something like that. It's so extensive and so and boring at the same time, but somewhat interesting also. And then I would look sideways like this, and I would see, oh, there's a stack of books over there that are they're calling these art books. And so I took a break and would step over there and pull a book out, and the first book I happened to pull out was one about surrealism.
Yeah.
And
you were in a very surrealist situation in a way already.
I think I was. I was only an actor in this play. And so I pulled the book out, and it opened up kind of a new world to me by seeing these images by artists who I had never heard of before, like Max Ernst and René Magritte, Joseph Cornell, and Marcel Duchamp. And so I got a little bit of an education without really knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
And but I had my other job of finding the lumber companies.
It's a lumber region. There are many lumber companies around Oklahoma City. Is that why?
Quite a few, and throughout the state of Oklahoma. And I guess they were attempting to get a master mailing list so that they could send their information about their products to all these lumber companies. You know, it was a business strategy that I was only a small part of. And so I did my part, but I also got this little bonus of seeing across the room these art books and looking at those. And that sort of got me going, and I guess cartooning and comics and certainly movies when I was young all combined and got me moving towards the world of art. I was uncertain about where it would take me, and I thought I wanted to be a sign painter.
Yeah.
And I did.
Cartoonist also, maybe? Cartoonist?
Well, you know, I painted menus for hamburger stands, and I did that for a couple of years. And then I wanted to go to art school, so that took me to California and on from there.
So we can say that the library came before the museum in a way. The encounter with art was through the library and not through the museum. Is that right to say that?
Yeah, yes. And I began to look at books for their beauty. I could walk along and look at books stacked in just like they are behind you, right here on your back wall. And I would see the spines of the books, and even that was an inspiration. And I kind of reduced this, seeing these books, to the idea that each one of these little objects put side by side on a shelf were kind of like information machines, each one in its own way. And so I've accepted that as a fact, and it's always been a curious one at that.
Yeah, I understand. And the first book you published under your name, of course, was in '63 when you published 26 Gasoline Stations. It's a book without many words, actually. There are not so many words in
Not
that.
so many words, yeah.
I'm saying that for the audience. I'm sure many of them know about that book, which is a kind of landmark in art history and in the history of the book now. But it's a series of photos that you took along Route 66, driving from Los Angeles to Oklahoma City, where you grew up, and you just told us about that now. And one of the striking things, of course, one of the many striking things about that book, which has been immensely, hugely commented and talked upon and written about, is that it has, I think, a kind of movie quality. It refers to the world of cinema, to the world of films. For instance, it looks almost as if you were location hunting for a movie in preparation and looking for scenes, you know, for some kind of film noir or a thriller that would happen in those gasoline stations. And yeah.
I felt like it was a part of a diary that I was following along with my travels. And along these travels was this idea that I was coming from a, let's say, hard scrabble or unfortunate state that was suffering from the Dust Bowl and economic downturn. And the one movie that affected me quite a bit was Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
And about migrant farmers from Oklahoma going west, having to move out and go to California to pick peas or whatever. And so I like the black and white attitude of that. And so the camera was something very much like that. I just kind of like put the thing together with Scotch tape. You know, one little part of the idea was I had in mind, and the other one finally, and I did it in reverse, and I knew the title of the book before I even took the pictures.
So you knew the number, you knew about the 26.
Yeah,
You wanted them to be 26, not 27 or 24.
that's right.
Yeah.
And you know, I had made a I hitchhiked to from Oklahoma to Miami in when I was about 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember, but this is much later, that it took me 26 rides to get to Miami.
Uh-huh.
When I I had a little job, worked in a restaurant as a busboy, and then I decided to go back to Oklahoma, and I hitchhiked back to Oklahoma,
That's
uh,
interesting.
and it
That's
took me.
interesting because the book was published in 63, right? You worked on it in 62 and you published in 63. So 63, you were 26, or that was the year of your 26th birthday. If
Oh, well, see, that's another thing I didn't think about. But then coming back from Miami to Oklahoma also took me 26 rides.
Yeah.
And not making that an issue ever, someone pointed that out to me when I told them it's 26, and they said, "Oh yeah, but you titled your book 26." And I said, "I had no intention of adapting my 26 rides to
Of
the
course,
title of
yeah,
the book."
of course.
Yeah, so it came. Maybe it's something that came through the back door instead of the front door. I don't know.
The back door being the unconscious or something like
Yes,
that, I
yeah.
guess. Yeah, yeah. But you know, yeah, this quality of film, of even film noir, is very much present, I think. For instance, recently I saw again a movie from the 40s, a small minor classic, which is Detour by Edgar G. Ulmer, you know, and the hero is a guy who's on the road. He's driving on the road to California to meet his fiancée, and he stops in a gasoline station. And in a gasoline station, he meets another woman, a kind of femme fatale, played by Anne Savage, who is really beautiful. And suddenly, of course, everything is going to change in his life for the worst. But so the gas station is a locus, really, of the drama. And maybe it's also an effect of memory because I might have seen that movie before knowing your book. I don't remember exactly, but it was a long time ago. I saw that as a kid for the first time. And in France, it's very much like it's, you know, we like minor, obscure film noir, American film noir. So there is a conjunction here between the 26 gasoline station, the Route 66, and everything that could happen, because we can let the audience know nothing happens in your book in a way. We can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But everything could happen or might have happened, and we don't know about it. It's behind the scenes, you know. So, and this is something I might add that we can feel in several of your books, of the photo books from the 60s, either 34 parking lots, for instance. I mean, is a strange, and it's also like a location hunting trip, you know, 34 parking lots. And some Los Angeles apartments, also these are all from the 60s. Royal Road Test, where you do something weird by throwing a typewriting machine out of the window of your car, and even 9 swimming pools. 9 swimming pools is typically something that matches film noir ambiance. So it's and of course the Sunset Strip. I mean, every building along the Sunset Strip, on the Sunset Strip, it's something that you did in '66, if I remember well. It's a long traveling. It's a long traveling along the Sunset Strip, and traveling is a word in itself that refers, well, to travel the way that you travel on the road, you drive, and of course it's the movement of the camera. Traveling is the movement which allows you to have that long long sequence, which lets us see every building along the Sunset Strip. I don't know if you really thought of that at the time. What do you think?
Well, what I think is that I don't think
Well,
I didn't.
your words fly up, and our thoughts remain below.
Words without thoughts never to heaven go. That's good.
Yeah.
No, I look back on it, and it's one that is made with all my works are made with it's sort of spontaneous and without reason in many ways. But I, as I was seeing these subjects for my books, I was seeing them as opportunities. I was seeing them as excuses to make a book. Like maybe I want to make a book. I've got $1,000. I'll spend that $1,000 by making a book. But what can I make it out of? I just need an excuse. Oh, there's one over there. There's a swimming pools. Maybe that could be like anti-architecture. It's a hole in the ground,
Yeah.
you know. And but I would
Like a
see
parking lot in a way.
like parking lots,
Yeah.
and
Parking lot for swimming bodies. Yeah.
but I was seeing the gas stations as expressions of architecture, you know, like little boxes placed along the highway in some weird way, you know, some cosmic way. And they were spaced out to accept our need for gasoline. And so we stop along the way and we're kind of subject to these little boxes. And the boxes themselves deserve some kind of accolade. They deserve some kind of attention that they don't usually get. And they're so functional and so utilitarian that they're kind of overlooked as architecture.
Small monuments in a way.
Yeah.
I remember you said once, Ed, that what you liked about the gasoline stations is that they were streamlined. They were very, very designed.
Yeah, there was something very, what do we say, swanky or slick or smooth or zoom is a good word to use for that, where the architecture zooms, you know,
That's what we're doing right now, by the way, Zoom.
Right here, yes. And I appreciated that. And yet this is also was a function because it was an overhang that covered the automobile as they went into the gas station. It shaded you from the sun, and so it was very functional. And but at the same time, it had very much like Zoom architecture.
Yeah,
almost like a freight train or a passenger train that would. In the movies, they show going from a tiny little spot on the lower right-hand corner and quickly covering the entire screen and zooming into focus.
Also, it has to do with the cinema, of course, but I think that even for a French guy who wasn't in the United States at the time, and in France, the gasoline station didn't look at that at all. There is a sense of déjà vu in the photos of those books. Not only the gasoline stations, but it's as if we've been there before. And I wondered if it's not also because everything has been photographed, everything has been filmed. And this is something that struck me recently because I was reading a novel by Don DeLillo, you know, the one which is titled The Names. It's a novel from '82, and one of the characters is a movie maker. And at some point in the book, he goes into a long rambling meditation on film and the world. And he said the 20th century, the 20th is a century of film, because the 20th century is on film. The whole world has been filmed. The world is on film, all of it. And it's as if, you know, and he says, I wrote down that sentence, if a thing can be filmed, film is implied in the thing itself. So in a way, it's like the ready-made, you know, the ready-made by Marcel Duchamp is a photograph without any camera, in a way. You just have to look at it, and it's as if the object is its own photograph. And I think you gave us a sense of that by publishing these photos, which are really straight photos, black and white, and giving us a sense of déjà vu, and a sense that we're living in a world of images as well as of objects. The objects are also all the time, they're images at the same time. Am I clear? I'm a bit confused. Maybe I might have some difficulty trying to state what I want to say, but.
No, I don't think you're, no, you opened up something there. It's a way of looking, and people who call themselves photographers, well, you don't really have to call yourself a photographer, do you? Because we are all photographers. We all have a vision, and sometimes we're without this little thing they call a camera to record family events, or that cigarette butt that someone threw on the floor, or El Capitan Mountain in California, like Ansel Adams might do. And so you have photographers who are from the wild extremes of like Edward Weston, who spent his entire life making beautiful prints, and Ansel Adams doing the same thing. And then it's a good history to view, and yet it's so encompassing because the camera was an inevitable thing to come along, and somebody started playing with it. Who was it? Niepce? Was he the first photographer? I think so.
Yeah.
And once that got going, the reasons for taking pictures didn't matter. And so consequently, we're today entertained by anonymous photographs. And some anonymous photographs are, I think, some of the best invigorating, informative photographs, where you don't even know the name of the person who pulled the shutter.
Yeah. We do the rest.
We do the rest.
But also, thinking of your travel along Route 66, I thought, who needs a camera when you have a windshield? When you're sitting behind a windshield, who needs a camera? I mean, it's already as if you had the screen in front of you, and you're filming in real time.
Yes. And you know, you can add, let's say, a car radio with music coming out of it. Would almost be considered the soundtrack.
That's the soundtrack, for sure,
through that windshield.
So you're listening to Route 66, of course, by Bobby Trapp. If we jump in time, Ed, and go to one of your most recent books, at least to my knowledge, I would like to hear you about On the Road. On the Road is a book that you made in 2009, I think, about 10 or 12 years ago now. And it's based on the novel by Jack Kerouac, of course. It's titled exactly On the Road, an artist's book of the classic novel by Jack Kerouac. Well, it brings us back on the road once again. I mean, 25 years after the gasoline station, we're still on the road. What was the idea when you did that? Is that something that you wanted to do for a long time?
I did, and I faltered. I wanted to do this. I read the book in the late 1950s, I guess, and I got right behind the spirit of this generation. You know, the on the road, getting into a car and just blasting off,
Mm.
seeing the world, taking it all in, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, all that, and so the speed of life within this story of On the Road was very inspirational to me. So I kept this kind of in the back of my mind for years until Gerhard Steidl, the publisher from Germany, asked me if I wanted to make a book of some kind, and that came to mind, and it just sort of developed that way. And I thought about it for 5 or 6 years, and we took a license out with the publisher, and the license expired, so we had to renew the license in order to
Oh
do
yeah.
something like that. And anyway, the book came to be, and it was um,
Because
an,
to make ourselves clear, we have to let people know that it's a big book. It's really a big book, not like the earlier ones we were discussing
yeah,
before, but because you reprinted the whole text of the novel
yeah.
and you added some images of your own choice.
Yeah, I found these pictures from various sources, and I had the idea to have them all be in black and white film, and they would be die cut so that the images of the car parts would be stamped out in their actual silhouette shapes,
Mhm.
and then pasted on to the pages. So um, that was the notion I had to begin with, and I carried on through that. And it was absolutely a different kind of book for me because it was reflecting on someone else's vision and just reinterpreting it in a different way. And I just felt like I'm stepping outside my territory here, possibly, but I'll do this anyway, and that's what got me motivated.
Yeah, I thought of you as a kind of jazz musician reinterpreting a standard, you know, a famous song, and you gave us your own version of that with that book.
Yeah,
It's your
good
version of
analogy,
On the Road. Yeah.
Jean-Pierre.
Well, standard is a word also associated with the gasoline stations, but we won't go into that because I
Yeah,
always thought there was something there. I mean, standard. It's so strange a word in English. I mean,
it is. It is.
your old friend did a photo called Double Standard. You know who I'm thinking of
Yeah.
course. And standard, it's so complicated a word and so evocative that we could stay with that word for a very long time. But no, I wanted to know that if, did you do other artist books after On the Road, Ed? Because you're always doing catalogs and every kind of books, but in terms of really artist books, did you do others after?
No, I think that's my solo attempt to take someone else's um, idea, vision, um, and just reinterpret it within the pages of a book.
Mm.
And the way it happened was I imagined it being many different sizes, and then finally I decided to go big, if that's a term, go big, and and that's how it came to be.
Mm. Mm. Well, if we come to your own films now, the two films that you did, well, you always had, you also had, I mean, a very short career as an actor. The only example I know of that is your cameo appearance in Choose Me by Alan Rudolph in '84. But as a movie maker, you did two films in '71 and '75. The first one is called Premium, and the other one is called Miracle. And the first one, the color movies with sound, and the first one lasts, if I remember well, like 25 minutes, and the second one 28 minutes. So they're kind of the same format, and they're very intriguing. You know, we have both of them in the Pompidou collection. We screen them from time to time, and the audience is always intrigued and puzzled, and don't know they just don't know what to do with those objects. And it's a great quality, you know, because it leaves you puzzled, speechless, thinking. And if we start with Premium, for instance, Premium, what could we say about that? It stars Larry Bell, the artist, who's the main actor in the film. And we could give a resume of the action by saying that he's making a salad.
Yeah, he makes a salad. Well, here's another example of, I wanted to make some kind of movie that had a continuity to it. And I always appreciated the professional continuity that they used in Hollywood movies. I also like the other aspect of it where you don't have the professional continuity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like other filmmakers, like maybe Robert Frank or people who just let things fall in place. I mean, French cinema also had a lot of that too, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Where accidents would happen and they would just keep the accidents and be honest and keep and not try to make a fantasy, not try to make fantasy into reality. And so, but I like the full color, and I like the fact that the subjects are in focus. And
it's a very well-made thing, like the books, like 26 Gasoline Station. You wanted a very well-made object, you know, technically the paper, the printing, and so on. It's the same kind of reasoning with the film. Could we say that?
I think so. And at the same time, I had this urge just to make a movie, and then I said, well, where do I start from here? I've got to have an idea of some kind. You can't make a movie without an idea, but I don't know, maybe you can. Maybe you can. And
lots of them are like that, you know.
So I determined that I needed an excuse to make a movie, and my friend Mason Williams, who I grew up with, had and collaborated with on a few projects, books, one of them, and he wrote a short story called "How to Derive the Maximum Enjoyment from Crackers," and I thought, well, this has a number of little ideas that follow after one another, and it can begin to tell a story. And so I just use that as my excuse to make this movie.
Yeah, but you did a book yourself called Crackers, Ed, in '69. So there were already crackers in the air. I mean,
Yeah.
the Mason Williams story, your book Crackers. What was your book Crackers? How could we describe it very shortly?
It follows the storyline of this short story called "How to Derive the Maximum Enjoyment from Crackers," and I saw it as a book to begin with, and then I thought, well, this is also could be cinematic maybe, and so that pushed me in that direction.
One funny thing is that this story of a guy who wants to make a salad, he wants desperately to make that salad, that made me think of that English expression, salad days. You know, salad days, to speak of youthful time and insouciant times and so on. So I looked it up, and actually salad days, well, you might know that, but I didn't, of course. it comes straight from Shakespeare, you know.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
It's in Antony and Cleopatra.
Yeah.
And this is Cleopatra speaking about salad days because she's thinking of her time with Julius Caesar when she was younger, and it was the good time before Antony. And she says, my salad days when I was green in judgment and cold in blood. Green in judgment and cold in blood. Green and cold, like a salad in a way. So those were salad days, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I reflected on that or tried to. I may not have even thought about that, but it's good that
surely. But I know you read Shakespeare, Ed. That's why I'm saying that.
Uh,
you did a commission, a very famous commission for a library where with the words without thoughts never to heaven go, which comes from Hamlet, if I remember well. So I mean there is a Shakespearean subtext sometimes, maybe conscious or not, in some of your works. And if we come to miracle is as intriguing, as puzzling, as bizarre in the best sense of the word as premium, but also very different because it's like a pilgrim's progress in a way. I mean, it's about a mechanic who goes from, well, let's say dirtiness to cleanliness in a way. He goes towards purity, towards light, and maybe redemption. I don't know. We can do a lot of associations in that movie.
Yeah, I guess so. All the associations are there, and they're just like a collection of suggestors. You know, one suggests this or suggests that, and you either pick up on it or you don't, and you hope that enough of those things come together to make up what a story is. And otherwise you're lost, and you can be lost too anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, of course the car is very important. It's not about the road. We're not back on the road, but we're back with the car, and so it might not be very far from the gasoline station, the idea of on the road, and so on. But it's really a beautiful apologue, or little a story, a symbolic story, because I also noted that at the same time you did this movie, Miracle, you also did works called Miracle. You did drawings titled Miracle number 64. You did 8 of them with strange numbers, 64, 71. You also did an ink on paper in 74, the year before the film, which is just the word miracle across the sheet. And you also did in 75 a beautiful pastel on paper called, which says, not called, but it's not called, it just says that, various miracles.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a moment of miracles for you, obviously, the mid-70s, Ed. Why is that?
Well, I was born and raised a Catholic, and I took a left turn somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
And I began maybe at this point to look back on those things, and there are a lot of things that I appreciated about the church, and that is the mythological imagery, including light rays that come in from a window up on high, and this blast of light that comes in always meant something to me. It was something so simple and physical that I felt like maybe maybe I should make this official by doing a drawing or a painting of this.
Because I should have said that, of course, but the 8 miracle drawings, they're showing a beam of light which comes from above, and there are no words in those drawings, nothing. They're just rays of light descending upon, I don't know, Earth or ourselves. And you did later. You did a large painting with the same idea, which may be called painting without words, right? Or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
Picture without words.
Yeah.
Um, and it was something that was so elemental to me, I guess. But it comes from these loose ideas you have about religion and how you were raised and all of this. And I always liked evidence of that. One is a very urbane kind of example would be the light that is coming in from Grand Central Station in New York City. You know, you're always seeing that famous photograph with the blast of light coming in from up above. And to me, I can almost hear the organ music. You know, it's a image without its soundtrack. And you could add a soundtrack, make it more interesting. Play some Bach or something like that on the organ.
So it's very much about souvenir, about remembering also then places in your mind that you remember, and you got a special feeling from remembering. Speaking of music, I just wanted to ask you briefly about the sound in your two films, Premium and Miracle. How did you deal with the sound? It's also a strange way that you use sound in those films.
I'm always thinking about sound and music accompanying. I'm trying to think of a movie that I could make that has no music in it, and but people usually you take a sentimental approach to adding music to keep your attention, and I don't think that's a necessary element to keep your interest up, to have necessarily to have music, but in this respect, I just used indigenous music of Mexico and other places, just dotting the music in wherever. So it's like a collage, I guess. Good or bad, it's a collage.
Yeah, I understand. And one puzzling thing is that as great as they are, I mean, we all love those two movies, Premium and Miracle. And how come you didn't do any others afterwards?
I guess I like the solitude of being by myself, and you know, you really have to give up your day job in order to make a movie, and your dependence on other people is enormous, and it's threatening to me. It's exhausting to me to have to. And I understand why that has to be too. If you're going to make a movie, you can't just pick up a camera necessarily and make that movie all by your little lonesome. And so you have to have the cooperation of others, and that's the way it works. It works like a machine, you know, with all the many working parts, and they all have to work together. And boy, you have to commit yourself to that, and that's probably why I've got a few ideas, but maybe down the line, mañana.
But if as a conclusion, Ed, because I think it's time for us to conclude and to let you go with the rest of the day, which is just beginning for you. What are your projects now? What are you working on?
I'm working on an exhibit of works on paper that I'll have in a very small gallery in Gstaad, Switzerland. And that's going to happen in July.
Okay.
And I may go over for it, I don't know, but it may not be until September or something. So I'm doing that, and just my usual commitment to the to my studio, whatever I'm doing. Sometimes I don't produce anything, and but I consider myself still working.
Of course, of course. You're working in your head. You're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Ed. You've been very generous, and as always, it's a real treat to speak with you and to have your opinions on so many things. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jean-Pierre. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, what about our friends in Perpignan? Yeah, I see that they're clapping. I don't hear them. I can't hear them, but I see
Hello,
them clapping.
can you hear me?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, yes.
Yeah. Bonsoir, I'm Sébastien from the festival,
Hello.
and nice to meet you too, both of you. I have a first question. I think I read somewhere, Ed, that you went once in Perpignan. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Maybe 1961.
It's incredible.
40 years before you were born.
Okay, great. So you know it's France, yeah, but it's French Catalonia too, and we're fond of several culture here.
I
And
didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that, but it's great to know. Thank you, Sébastien, to remind us, because that was the time when Ed did a big tour in France, but I didn't know he had been to Perpignan. That's good to know.
oh, great. And I would like to ask you something about your link to French culture. Does it exist? Do you like some French author or filmmaker, or did something from French culture influence your work?
Um, well, how about this author named Perec?
Sébastien.
Perec?
Sorry.
Uh,
Georges Perec. Georges Perec.
the man that wrote the book called E,
Yeah,
you know, where he every word had there was no letters E.
yeah.
What was that author's name?
Georges Perec.
Perec.
Mm.
Perec.
Mm.
Yeah. He kind of came out of nowhere to me, and I appreciated that, you know, the attempt on his side to do something like that. And so I don't know his other works, but I did like his.
His very first book, Ed, you might be interested. His very first book was called Les Choses, the Things. And it's just about a young couple who starts in life and who they buy things, they buy furniture, objects, and they slowly they get bored with the consumer society and they wonder why they're buying all that and what sense does it have and so on. It was published in 65, that one. It's a very, very beautiful book too. Yeah.
Good premise. Good
Yeah.
premise to write a book. Could apply to the thinking of today.
Sure, sure. Sébastien, is there something else?
Yeah, we were talking about um, uh, uh, what are I would like to ask a simple question, because I know that you are I think that you are fond of music too. What are the music you are listening to nowadays, these days, and what do you like that is produced by emerging artists, or do you are aware of it?
I listen to a lot of jazz. I listen to a lot of, I don't listen to rap so much, but or new emerging scenes of music. But I do listen to jazz and more traditional things. And I also listen to rhythm and blues music from the 1950s and 60s. And um, I was telling Jean-Pierre about this young musician that I just found out about named Miles Okazaki. And he's a young man who lives here in America, that he's a guitarist, a solo guitarist, and he's taken the entire works of Thelonious Monk and made interpretations of this music. So you can put his music on, and it sounds like guitar music, of course, and it goes on and on and on, and then it'll catch you thinking, oh yes, I see, there's a little bit of a melody that Monk puts into his work. And I like the idea of somebody producing an album of actually 6 CDs of the entire work. Title, by the way, Work, because that was the title of one of Thelonious Monk's, actually my favorite composition of his, called Work. And take all of these compositions and putting them to his own style of guitar. So he's reinterpreting somebody else's music in the same way that we might, that I might paint a picture of an American flag or something, but didn't Jasper Johns paint a picture of an American flag? And didn't somebody named Betsy Ross 250 years ago create the American flag? So, it's like a reinterpretation of someone else's music. And
yeah, I guess the American flag is a kind of standard, Ed. It's a standard that you may play upon. So that's the same thing with Monk's songs.
Could be. And then you think, well, all of art comes out of other art. And that makes everything kind of part of a historical connection. Everything has a historical connection. But anyway, that's what's, I think that artist is worth listening to. Yeah.
Okay, so Jean-Pierre, thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thanks
Ed,
to you.
I would like to say one last thing to tell you how much we are all impressed, very impressed to talk to you, and it was a great moment to hear both of you. We love so much your work, and it was great to welcome you even digitally to the festival. We hope when everything comes back to normal to see you back in France for something or exhibition and to take a coffee with you. So, à bientôt, j'espère. Merci beaucoup.
We look forward to that. Thank you, Ed. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.